The following program is an opinion program. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of this program are not the opinions of the management, staff, and advertisers of this station. Please direct all criticism, concern, and adulation to the hosts of this program.
Welcome to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson. I'm a radio talk show host. You can hear my shows Monday through Friday on WVNN in Huntsville from 5 until 9 a.m. and on Talk 99.5 in Birmingham from 10 until noon. With me, as always, Mecca Music. She is the CEO of 256today.com, smart news for smart people. So, Happy New Year. Happy soon-to-be New Year. Maybe you're watching this in like July of 2024. I don't know. If you are, go to Facebook or something, leave a comment about that. But whenever you watch this, whenever you consume it, thank you very much for being here in the past and in the future. I hope everything is going great for you. We got a great show for you. Cameron Smith will be with us. He is with AL.com. He is a columnist there. I've got a parting shot for you about lying politicians, which is all of them. And then we will let you go from there. So let's go ahead and get into that 2-minute warning. All right, Mecca, there has been a lot of scuttlebutt out and about, some appearing at 256today.com, and it basically raised the question about what Scott Statehagen was doing. He has been elected the new majority leader for the Republicans in the House, and there are some questions about renovations in his state house suite, and then there's also been some questions about some donations he took from Club for Growth. Now, Club for Growth is an organization that I have absolutely no problem with. They're a club for growth, and I'm all down with that. So $50,000 to get Republicans elected doesn't really mean anything to me. The State House stuff did kind of tickle my fancy. I had him on a live stream. You can go watch that at facebook.com/TheDaleJackson. And we addressed these issues, and something else came up. The bursted pipes in the State House. This is like a dream.
It's perfect.
It's a dream for these people that are in the I'm convinced if we go back and check video, you'll see members of both parties like sledgehammers breaking down pipes and be like, oh, the ice did it. Oh, man. But it looks like, and this guy is a Republican, a fiscal conservative, all these things.
Fiscal conservative.
Old building, we need to have a new State House. I think we're going to start hearing about it, and it's going to be about the pipes and the damage it caused and all these other things. Is there support? Forget about support outside that State House because there is none.
None. Okay, so no, there is no support. And you said that in the live stream, and I was very entertained by that.
They could be sitting out in the cold and nobody would care.
Nobody would care.
Go down and do it at the Burger King down the street in Montgomery. I don't care. Go do it in the park. Nobody cares. The cost of a new State House will be extravagant.
Yes.
No matter what it is.
Yes.
And people will hate it.
Yes.
But it looks like the support is both parties.
Well,
and they're ready to
part for the people who are having to work there. I mean, and the points that he brought up are not incorrect. They're not. He makes some good points.
It's a sick building. It's an old building. It's a gross building. It is.
As far as support and getting it done, like you said, the bursted pipes are probably their best chance.
It could literally be leaking on them, and I would not care.
People still wouldn't care. But for them,
Okay, but here's the thing. The problem with this is, yes, we're going into a new quadrennium. You could vote for it the first thing and say, okay, then it's got to get built. So now the whole conversation will be about as this thing is being built, you get closer to the next election, then you move into the new State House, they have a big thing.
So mad.
I mean, it's going to be, this is a very fraught political issue.
It is. Who's on their way out that could carry it? It had to be somebody who's like, this is my last go-around.
Your fiscally conservative new majority leader is going to be the guy who's
I don't think he should be the one carrying the torch on this.
He's doing demos by himself in his own. No, I'm just kidding. That was addressed as well. But look, the only way this happens is if both parties come together and say, okay, let's do this.
They'll
still take heat from the outside, but that's the only way that they're going to be able to. I think they will come up with something.
I say good luck because this is their best chance.
Yeah.
You really, like, as far as the bursted pipes, and be like, oh, this is it. I'd
if
love
you're going
that
to
on
build
the
a
live
new State
stream.
House, don't correct the damage that's there already. I mean, why? Why even bother? Just like, okay, we're moving out, so we'll just deal with this. These, whatever. I know that can't be done. All right, let's move on. Title 42. Who's in charge of the country? Is it our elected leaders in Congress? Is it the President of the United States? Is it the unelected Supreme Court? No, it's that one. It's the unelected Supreme Court. They're the ones who seem to be in charge right now. And again, I'm not sitting here telling you that this is how our system is set up. This is exactly how it is set up. There are disputes at different levels of government and with government and private industry, etc. It's supposed to be settled by the Supreme Court. They make the rulings, and so be it. But what has happened here is we have basically taken Congress out of the equation on the issue of immigration, and we've had president after president after president, that's 3, that have said, okay, here's an executive order, here's what we're going to do. And the next one comes in and goes, no way we're doing this, we're going to end it. And then the court comes in and goes, you got to leave that in place. That's not how the system is supposed to work. But with Title 42 and Dreamers before that, it is exactly how the system works. Joe Biden has the authority to end this program, and he wants to. He's the president. There is no law. He is just making this decision. And the Supreme Court is going, nope, can't do it. It's the exact same thing they did with Trump and Obama's Dreamers. It's the exact same thing. Who's in charge, Becca?
Obviously, on this issue, the Supreme Court is. And honestly, we were talking about how it's done, executive order, executive order. I think if anything, this should cause people, our legislators, our elected lawmakers, to actually overhaul the system and put in a policy that makes sense.
Why?
Why the look? Why the look?
Why? All you got to do is win the
bad.
presidency and then hold on to the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court basically either back up what you say or drag it out even further. I mean, this is really... Mark Levin, a talk show host on WVNN, calls it tyranny. What do you call it? I forget. Tyranny of the courts. And that's what it is. It really is.
You got to do it in the Levin voice. Though.
Yeah. Tyranny of the courts. Get off my show, you big dope. Okay? I mean,
Get to him.
That I sound like him sometimes anyway. But the reality is they are making the decisions.
Right.
And now, again, this is why the presidency is more important than ever. I mean, really, it is. Congress has been completely removed from this situation. You could say by themselves or whatever. They have been completely removed from the situation. It's executive orders, and then whether or not the Supreme Court allows you.
But that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be. This should be like what it.
Oh, but it won't be. It'll just be the argument to win these other battles. I mean, that's what it'll be. All right. Let's talk about permitless carry in Alabama. Now, this is something that apparently is supposed to scare me. I'm supposed to be afraid of this because it's open season in Alabama. This is sort of the narrative that we're starting to see build here a little bit. I find it hilarious. I truly do. Because if you think there are people at the Walmart with you that don't have firearms that aren't permitted right now, you are crazy. Okay? The only people that follow these laws are people who follow the laws. The people that don't follow the laws never were following the laws. Now, you could argue, if you wanted to, that this will take away some of the sweetener that you want to use on criminals. Like a guy breaks into your house. You arrest him. He's got some weed and a gun that he's not supposed to have, and it's concealed. Okay, boom, 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 and you just start pounding him for all those things. That's basically all this takeaway. It's not going to make people commit crimes or carry guns or any of this other stuff. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be open season in Alabama. But we will hear, permitless carry. We got another shooting here, blah, blah, blah. Alabama has no permitless carry. And all I will ask you is this. Have you seen Birmingham lately? Okay? They've got record homicides, and they're being done with guns. And you know what?
That are not permitted.
That are not permitted. That's exactly right. I mean, but they're not like, no permits. Let's go commit some crimes. No, those people are already committing crimes.
Yeah. That's a valid point. The people who already have guns and have permits for those guns, that's already been taken care of. The people who weren't going to get permits for their guns and have guns and shouldn't have guns, that's already been taken care of.
When I buy a
as well.
gun out of some guy's car on the side of the street, I usually run down and get a permit and say, yeah, that's what I need to do. This is not how the world works.
I know it's not how the world works, but nonetheless, it's... I guess from a PR standpoint, you have to worry that now Alabama's going to be seen as like the Wild West and things like that.
That's how it'll be framed. But let me just tell you something right now. There's a sign on the door outside the Walmart that says "Don't carry a gun." Yeah. Here's my message to the Walmart employees: stop me. I mean, that's really, and I say that. No, but just listen. Understand the point. They have to. So when they come to you, sir, are you packing? They're not going to do that. They don't do it now. But I carry my weapon into Walmart. I might get banned from Walmart now, but this is
right.
but the simple fact is that's exactly what happens, and that's why the permit thing is so silly. I mean, it just truly it is an attempt to make people feel better about themselves that does absolutely nothing.
Well, and there was the legitimate concern that this is going to defund the police. Yeah. Remember, a lot of sheriff's department depended on that revenue.
There are more guns. Well, that's the real story. It's about permits and the cost, but just in the functional side of it, just know this: there are so many guns around you don't even know it. You have no idea. There might be one behind you right now. Watch out. All right, let's move on and talk about this travel ban for a second. I love this story. This is truly one of my favorite stories of the entire year. I know it's been a long year, maybe recency bias or whatever, but I love the idea that the Biden administration, who got into office by going, hey, you know that orange guy? He's terrible and xenophobic and awful. Did you see that travel ban he tried to put in place on China? Could you imagine doing that against an entire country and group of people? How ridiculous. And then the second season of the coronavirus goes out, and people aren't as the third season, people get kind of bored with it. Now we're entering the fourth season of the coronavirus, and the Biden administration's like, we got to have a travel ban on China. And nobody's like, you called that xenophobic, and now you're doing it, and now they're telling them we're going to make everyone test on the way in. They had a plane land in Italy from China, and half the people tested positive for the coronavirus on the plane, which means that all the people that didn't have it were in there.
Oh, they're going to be
the filtration system on planes is great. Yes, but do you know when they don't run the filtration system on planes? On the ground. And when they're taxiing, and all those things. So it's... We're getting a rerun here, okay? Only the thing is, the parties have swapped, and the media's like, it's a prudent move, and it's like, okay, all right, well, go on. Now, is this xenophobic or is this just politics?
Obviously, it's politics. It was, it wasn't okay for one party or the party in charge to do something as such as this, and now it is okay. I mean, it's politics, and you could argue that the situation has evolved. And
it's less dangerous. The virus now is less dangerous. It's literally less dangerous. I mean, come on. If you ask someone, hey, would I want a Chinese person to cough in my face today or 4 years ago?
That's not.
I'm just saying, if you asked them that question, you would say now. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, the point is, it is less dangerous now. But the funny thing about this, on immigration, on the economy, and on this, the Biden administration came in and said, all this stuff they're doing is absolutely terrible. In fact, it's backed by hatred of poor people, immigrants, Chinese people, whatever. And now they're like, oh yeah, we got to do it. On all those things, every single one of them, they're like, we got elected by saying that guy was terrible. Now let's use his policies. Right? Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, it looks that way. She did not like the coughing in your face thing. Okay, fine. I retract that statement. I don't want a Chinese person coughing in my face. Yes. Cameron Smith will be with us next, and we will have a conversation with him about stuff happening here in the state of Alabama. Stay tuned. Alabama Politics This Week. Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here, and this is my son, Grant. Now, I'm here to talk to you about Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. He's a handful, I'm a handful, and if I want to stay married, I need Top Shelf Customized Cleaning to come and take care of my house. They do an amazing job for me, and they'll do an amazing job for you. Cindy loves them. I love them. Grant loves them as well. Check them out on Facebook. Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. And don't forget, call them today, 256-417-9122. And when you talk to them, make sure you tell them Grant sent you. Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I'm Dale Jackson. With me, as always, Mecca Music. And the best way to end the year, or start the year, depending on when you're watching this, is with Cameron Smith from AL.com. He's also a columnist, I believe, at the Tennessean as well. He is a busy guy. Okay, so let's talk with Cameron Smith. Some of you may not know about him is he's done some work in Washington, D.C. And while we don't hold that against him too much, I am interested in his thought process on what we're seeing out of the Supreme Court. One of his former bosses, I believe, Gary Palmer, the House, the rules leader, like number 3 in the House, he put out a statement saying he's very happy about Title 42 and how the Supreme Court ruled in favor of it, basically saying, look, we want the government to be run by the previous president, because the president that is in office right now cannot end what he did because that would be bad for the country, which is exactly the argument the Supreme Court made over Dreamers when it went from Obama to Trump. And I think Gary Palmer was rather unhappy with that philosophy here as well. Is this just political expedience / hypocrisy? Is there like some sort of thing we're looking at here that I'm missing, or is this just government run by the Supreme Court now?
So I think there is some political hypocrisy. I'm actually with Justice Neil Gorsuch on this one in his dissent, and he's saying, Congress, you can enact your own immigration policy. You can address this issue. This was designed to connect with COVID, and the fact that that's over, that crisis is over, but we're going to keep this in place because we don't want immigrants flooding across the border. It doesn't have anything to do with COVID. The idea that the government would still have this policy in place is ridiculous because of it's a COVID policy. So don't look at this as an immigration issue. Look at it as a COVID issue related to immigration. And so whether we keep it or not, that's not the issue. It's failure of leadership.
Right, I agree.
Democrats and Republicans.
But it's also an executive power issue as well. And that's the thing that I find most interesting about this. If Trump was not able to end the Dreamer program, which he should have been able to with a snap of his fingers, this should have been able to be ended by Title 42 as well. But the sides all flip back and forth. I mean, it just seems like nobody really believed anything they said.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dale. I mean, the President Trump, the Dreamers issue is an enforcement issue, which is the province of the executive branch. So Trump should be able to say, yeah, we're going to enforce the law. We're not going to have the blanket legal modification that Obama did. We're not going to do that anymore. And he was right there. And on this one, President Biden, although he has no immigration plan whatsoever, should absolutely be able to say, hey, the COVID crisis is passed as it pertains to immigration, so that's no longer a thing. We don't have to like it. That's just what should happen here.
Oh, well, and Cameron, speaking about your original point earlier that the legislative body needs to take control of this issue and pass policies, pass something that makes sense that everybody can agree on. What are the chances, though, that we will actually get to that point?
When I worked in the Senate for Jeff Sessions, we were looking at New Zealand's system, a points-based immigration system that connects with economic demand. There are plenty of good ideas to solve this issue. The problem is we have, I'll put this bluntly, losers in Congress who don't want to do their job. They don't want to do the work because it's hard. They don't want to take tough votes. They don't have to want the other side to score political points. That's what's happening here. This issue, there are so many options to solve it, to address the folks that are here, to address the folks that are coming here. And we act like, no, there's just nothing we can. There are plenty of things we can do. We can absolutely solve this. It just requires people being willing to do the work and saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to play politics. I'm not going to play stupid games. I'm going to put some ideas out there. We're going to solve the problem, and we're going to end a humanitarian crisis because, frankly, that's what it is right now, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and you see in El Paso, you see the National Guard out putting up wire, concertina wire, which is actually stopping people. It's like, oh my God, what a surprise. Or they're putting out connexes across the Arizona and Texas border. Oh my God, it's actually stopping people. And the federal government is fighting them to stop those things. So it just makes absolutely no sense. I want to move on. I want to talk about the State House because this is my favorite story. I already said that about something else, but this one's actually my favorite story of the year. The State House story will be my favorite story of next year. While politicians argue for a new State House, and guys on talk radio will be like, well, what are you guys going to put marble floors in? What about gold handrails and doorknobs and things like that? How many computer terminals are you going to have at each desk? And how big is the State House going to actually? I mean, this is a politically fraught situation, but there were some busted pipes during the freeze that seem to be laying the groundwork for a new State House. Do you think that the Democrats and Republicans in the Alabama State House at the beginning of the quadrennium say, let's go, let's get a new State House?
Yeah, they need to. I mean, if you've been to the State House, spent any time in it, it's just kind of gross and janky, and they've overhauled pieces of it over time. But I get it. Nobody wants to spend anything on themselves. My take on it would be spend on the people, right? the people of Alabama deserve to be able to engage their legislature. They deserve to be able to have a comfortable way to do that. Right now, the only people that really like it are the lobbyists who just line the hallway. So they need to do it.
Yeah,
And trap them. Yep, that's right.
But Cameron, and let us be clear, it's being floated mainly by you since the pipes burst, knowing that this has been an ongoing issue for legislators. But
She's right.
But yeah, this is not actually happening at this point. Not to say it won't.
Oh, no, it is happening. It's just not happening in public.
Yeah, okay.
That's the difference.
Okay. But to Dale's point, okay, so let's say, it's everybody's got reelected, we're good. They can go ahead and make this happen. But the construction would take so long. I mean, just think about. Don't you think there would be too many political repercussions for too many people to be in support of this? Too many lawmakers to be in support of this?
Well, lawmakers need to grow up, put on their big boy and big girl pants, and make adult decisions and say, yes, there are going to be things here you're not going to like. There are going to be things here that you're going to try to pick on us for. Don't do any sort of self-dealing. Don't do a cronyous contract. Get the work done. Make it focused on the people of Alabama. And like I said, right now you have lobbyist central station. That's how the state house works. Make it so that the public has easier access to their members. Make it so it's comfortable, because right now it's just not.
Boy, this is a really bad argument. And if I'm a legislator hearing it, I'm like, I'm not going to say any of those things at all. Because I'll tell you this right now. When Scott Statehagen votes for this thing, the new majority leader, and then I die in 10 years and Grant Jackson takes over and the Grant Jackson show is going on, he's going to be talking about that vote to build that new palace down in Montgomery.
That's exactly what it's going to be. As we say goodbye to the 2022 and head into the new year, I'm going to ask you both, was that your biggest story?
Oh my God,
can't be
yes,
your biggest
obviously.
story.
It's not at all recency
Cameron,
bias.
what is your, I'm more interested in hearing from you then. What you consider the biggest story of the year?
Yeah, well, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to pick two real quick. The first one's obviously the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I mean, that is decades in the making for pro-life movement, for conservatives. That's a huge, huge deal. But also, who would have thought that Ukraine would still be surviving after being attacked by Russia? Like, Putin thought this was going to be a slam dunk, and the people of Ukraine have basically been like, screw you, man, and have held out and have been successful. And wow, I mean, watching a global superpower stub their face on the rock of Ukraine has been really interesting.
It's interesting. I read something by Noah Rothman the other day, a columnist for Commentary Magazine, a regular guest on my program. And he wrote, we spent 5.9% of our defense budget destroying 50% of Russia's military with another country. We're fighting a proxy war, and that's what we're doing. The question is, should we do it and should we continue that? But yeah, the continuation of this thing is interesting. I'll answer your question, though.
Okay, what do you got?
I will tell you, I think the Roe v. Wade thing is actually...
I agree with both of Cameron's points as well.
Was one of the very big ones. But I think it was the way that it was weaponized and the way they used it. And Republicans didn't see this coming.
And successfully.
Right.
In many
No,
districts.
so I'm saying the red wave that was supposed to come it never happened. And the Roe v. Wade thing, I think you look back, that played, I think, a very big part in it. And I think that Democrats will continue to use that in the future. The other is the failure of Donald Trump. The failure of Donald Trump as the political kingmaker, the desperation towards the end of the 2022 campaign, where he started going out and going, Katie Britt and Gary Palmer and Robert Adderall, and be like, I'm going to run up the scoreboard here, and it's just, I think, okay, the other teams pulled their goalie on those, okay, so let's just chill out here before we start trying to score so many points. But I think that was probably one of the bigger ones.
I would say, just to add to all y'all's points, which were great, and I agree with, for an Alabama-focused story was the Senate race. No, not the State House. The Senate race. Britt, Brooks, Durant. I mean, that was a very compelling race to be watching.
Cameron, to her point, last question here. Did 2022 show us that money can pretty much clear the path? It can act as a bulldozer.
I don't agree with
that.
I think it's more a return to normalcy. People who can get things done rather than the big.
They
talk.
Spent millions of dollars turning Mike Durant into something different, and they turned Mo Brooks into something different. It was effective.
As 2022 closes, I'm just really enjoying the fact that, like, I can dunk on Dale Jackson on this because I picked the winner early. And he was like, no way, absolutely not. No, it can't happen. So now it's like, oh, well, money can clear the way. The Trump endorsement for Brooks. I mean, talk about abject failure. But, hey, you know what? I know how to pick a winner in 2022. We'll see you in 2023.
So I'll just make sure the guy that has been wallowing in the swamp his entire life pick the right guy or the right gal. Okay, thank you very much, Cameron Smith. We always appreciate you being here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mecca. Have a happy New Year, or I hope you enjoyed your New Year, depending on when people see this. She's gone. The year's getting better and better as we speak. All right, on either side. We'll be right back. It's Alabama Politics This Week. Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
Want fun, safe, intelligent fitness programming? Want to build muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, drastically improve range of motion and mobility, and learn proper nutrition to fuel your life with energy and emotional health? Well, come find out why Iron Tribe Fitness is ranked one of the top 5 fitness programs in America. Come find out why personal training and intentionally working on your current movement patterns individually is not only important, it's just another core value that separates Iron Tribe Fitness from other fitness facilities.
To learn how to get your 2-week free pass, go to irontribefitness.com.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson, about to get into that party shot about George Santos and the story that is following this terrible liar. We'll have a conversation about that here in just a second. First, though, let me remind you, head on over to yellowhammernews.com. Sign up for my email blast, the 7 things you should be talking about today. Every single morning, Monday through Friday, you will get it, except for holidays and sometimes even on holidays. No days off for Dale Jackson. The 7 things you should be talking about today at yellowhammernews.com. Also watch my videos and live streams as well. Right now, though, let's go ahead and get to that parting shot. My party shot this week is directed at all of Congress. I find this to be hilarious. George Santos, a representative-elect from New York, has been found to be a liar about basically everything. His resume, his faith, and everything else involving his entire life. Even in sometimes his race. Yes, that's right. He lied about his race as well. So he's a bad guy. He's a liar. He should be thrown out and not seated. I agree with all of that. Now, why is that a question now? Well, politics. Let's just talk honestly about it. Republicans want to protect their slim majority. Democrats want to destroy it. If you flip the sides, they'd probably be making the opposite argument right now. Seat him, we'll see what happens, all that stuff. But let me just ask you what's happened beyond that. There has been talk about criminal investigations and things like that into his lying. And I heard something from the Attorney General who was looking into this and some of the DAs, and they're saying, we've got to figure out what's been going on here. That's not how this is supposed to work. You don't go looking for crimes. You don't investigate people for lying. You have a suspicion of a crime, and then you pursue it. And that's how it's supposed to work, but they're doing this differently. They did that with Donald Trump as well. But forget about all of that. If they're going to start investigating and locking people up for lying, I have a suggestion. Why don't we turn D.C. into a penal colony? Okay? Because I can run you down a list of people in both political parties, starting with the last 3 presidents of the United States that were pathological liars. And if we're going to start arresting people for that, let's start with those guys. And then you could probably move down along the way. There's a difference between making mistakes and being wrong and lying, and all too often politicians lie. Not all of them. There are good ones. There are no questions about that. But to hear people talk about this, like this is the first guy who ever lied to get elected, is kind of funny. If he committed some crimes, go after him, but don't go after him for lying and saying you're going to go find a crime. that's politicizing politics, and that is probably a bad idea. That will turn D.C. into a penal colony, which may not be a bad idea. Thank you very much for watching and listening to Alabama Politics this week. Have a great new year this coming year. Have a great time, and we will be back next week.